So obviously we're going to click on the EProduction Configurator tool on your desktop, and then it opens into the tool. So if you see right now, it says it opens right on Thursday, which is today, the day that I am recording this. And it has your projection days that it's pulling all the data from. So this works just like schedules. It'll do the last 5 weeks of sales. So it pulls the sales pattern and the product mix and all of that. And then also it looks at yesterday. So if you wanted to take any of these out, say you had, sometimes you have a malfunction, it'll say you only did $40 worth of sales, or you had a snow day and so the average is really off. Maybe it's only like 6,000 instead of 10,000. You don't want that to be included. You can click right here and click remove. And you can also add in different days. So if you wanted to do, so that was, we wanted to add in yesterday or whatever. So the reason you would add in a day is either to replace a snow day, or if you are doing something like a holiday, or the start of Lent for Ash Wednesday, or any Fridays, because you know the last 5 weeks won't have all that data from how much fish you're going to sell. So you can go to the year prior and pull that, or if you are on the first Friday of Lent, you can replace the day with Wednesday and kind of get the business pattern for how much fish you're going to sell. And so that will do, and you can do that on Fridays, obviously, not on Thursday. And that will update the product mix so that it'll kind of adjust how much fish is in your cabinet at one time. So then over here, we have your breakfast menu, day menu, and your breakfast all day menu. And it's start and stop time. So you can kind of configure this, and this shows how long these things are going to be on that EProduction monitor in the kitchen. So breakfast will be there. This is Carbondale, so from 5 a.m. until 11 a.m. it's going to be breakfast only. Menu items that are set as breakfast only will show up. And in the day menu, from starting at 10:30 until 4 a.m. because, that's kind of when the day ends. It's going to be lunch only items are going to pop up there. And if we have breakfast day menu, if we're selling anything all day breakfast, hot cakes if you want to put them on there. Burritos, which you can technically sell. We have that as all day. And you can add separate day parts too if you want something to only pop up between 2 and 4 or whatever. I don't really know what that would be, but you can certainly do that. Okay, so once you have all of this, you can minimize it if you don't want to. I don't like a messy screen, so I'm going to minimize it. And then we're going to go into UHC settings. So full screen is just, it's going to make it a lot bigger. So this is all the product that Carbondale has currently on there. So they have reg meat, round eggs, folded eggs, scrambled. So it'll show breakfast and lunch, any items that are currently on there. So when you click on it, it'll give you all the settings. So if you remember setting up the R2D2 charts and the settings for new or old products, it works exactly the same way. It just is on a different screen. So right here we have Thursday, they're projected to use 880, reg meat. So description, it's 10:1, time factor 15. So the time factor is how long it's good for in the cabinet. So when we do Best Burger, for instance, we're all going to have to go back into this and change this to 10 minutes because the reg meat's only going to be good for 10 minutes. But that's unless you're Honesdale, that's way down the line, like September. So minimum items. So this is the minimum number of pieces of reg meat that the EProduction will call for. So you can set this technically at any number. So if you want it to call, if you always want it to call for at least 4 pieces of reg meat, you can put 4 here as the minimum items. We don't recommend that. It's also not executed as designed, as they like to say, minimum items, because if you aren't going to be selling it for that hour, if on on average for the last 5 weeks, you haven't sold reg meat for that whatever hour we're in, you don't want to have it in the cabinet because you're going to have to waste it. So the point of e-production is, to lower waste. So if the computer thinks you're not going to sell it, you're probably not going to sell it. So don't have a minimum amount in there. And then if you do happen to sell one, it's probably better to, do cook to order at that point than anything else. That would be your CTO on the e-production charts. So maximum items is going to be the maximum number per tray. So Carbondale has theirs set at 8. Technically, reg meat is 16 in a tray, but I don't think that anybody in our organization at all ever needs 16 pieces of reg meat in a tray. That's kind of a lot. And then also for Best Burger, this will be changing to 6 anyway. Default trays, so it's going to always have at least 2 trays on there. And the max tray limit is they have 4 slots, so it'll never call for 5 trays of reg meat. It'll only call up to 4. It might call for 2, it might call for 3, or it might call for 4, but it'll never call for 1, and it'll never call for 5. So roundup is kind of a percentage of almost like a buffer, how it's going to give you that little extra bump. So if it's calling for an average of 7.7 reg meat or whatever, it'll bump it up to 8. That's kind of math in the background, though. We don't care about that. So batch size, this is for batch cooking, is you can set, if you wanted to cook things in batches, so a batch of reg meat is 3 pieces or whatever like that, right? So you'd put a batch size as 3, but the difference is that if you do that, then the minimum number of items, it would, if you put 1, that would mean that you'd have to cook 3 pieces of reg meat. So we don't really do that. So that would be your batch items would be 1 batch of reg meat, and then your crew or whoever's working your grill would have to know that 1 is equal to 3 because it's a batch. So that's not a recommended item or a recommended setting to do that. So, and that's how that all is. And then, so it's on custom day parts. So we have day menu, and it's set to just day menu. So if you wanted it to show up during breakfast for whatever reason, you could click that there too, and it would go on that. Or if it's an all-day breakfast item. So for instance, in California, this month, I think, or next month, they're starting to do nuggets all day. So they're going to do nuggets at breakfast as well. So that's why they would have it on the breakfast menu and the day menu. Or if you have your settings 4 a.m. to 4 a.m., you could just put it on one setting, which is the breakfast day menu, and it would show up all over the place. So then nuggets are kind of the same thing here. So we have nuggets, time factors, 20 minutes, max is 48 in a tray, default, batches. So for nuggets, if you were to do batches, you can do 1 batch is equal to 24 nuggets. So it would say, over here it would say nuggets 1 in 1 tray. And so that would be half a tray. Or half a bag of nuggets, because it would be 24. And then if you needed a full bag of nuggets in a tray, it would say 2, and that would just be a full bag. But that's really confusing, which is why we're not telling anybody kind of to do that. So those are all the settings. You kind of just run through these things, make sure they're all on the same. So I'm just checking our breakfast to make sure it's on breakfast. And our day to make sure we're on day. So we have McChicken on breakfast day menu because we sell it in the morning as well. And all of that is here. So you just got to make sure that however many trays you have in your cabinet, and what your max trays are and what your max runs are, is specific to each store. So you just want to make sure that you're kind of lining it up with your own cabinet and your own setup. But like I said, this is for Carbondale. So you can also do, so if you right click you can assign a raw item, right? So say we wanted to do McRibs, right? Because we're gonna have, see if I can get my keyboard to do anything, but probably not because I'm not here. So I'm just gonna pick something really weird because I'm not gonna send it to them. So okay, so McRib patty, right? So we're gonna add items, and it has the default on here, so it's gonna say McRib patty, and we're gonna set it to day menu because we don't want it on in the morning. And we're gonna do time factor, it's like 60 minutes or whatever. And then minimum item 0, maximum item 6 per tray. Default trays 2. Your max tray limit might be 2. Some stores have 3 trays for McRibs, depending on how many they sell. And you can also, this is a really cool tool, you can set this up early. So you can say that McRibs are only going to be valid, this setting is only going to be valid from your start date of McRibs, which might be like, let's say you're starting them tomorrow, and then you know that you're going to be out of them on April 30th, right? So on May 1st, McRibs won't be here anymore. And that's kind of how that works.